This is how you tell if a LT70 is a super hydraulic. On the side of the motor, you'll have this whole bracket with this hose and all this coming down through here. That basically runs all your hydraulics. This video is to show you things that you'll want to look for if you're going to buy one of these mills. This is a 2015 and a half, one of the first ones. Me and my dad picked these up and really kind of put them through their paces to see what needed to be done, changed, fixed. We've changed quite a bit since we've got them. Some of the things you'll want to look for. One of the main things is in your frame here, you can see we've welded these plates on here on both sides. What happens is the arm that comes down through here, and this is in the middle of the frame, you can see where it comes down through here. The bottom down there in this cylinder presses on this arm, which is here, and causes over time this to crack through the welds. It's not thick enough in the frame part. We've been working with Woodmizer, and I think they're coming out with a fix for this. Probably beyond the 21s, or I would think so. Nick and them have been working on this and really talking to us, getting our insights on it. Those guys up there at Woodmizer are absolutely phenomenal. I've never worked with a company that is better thus far. I've worked with a lot of companies and they do a phenomenal job. Really listen to their people. You can see it's all been welded up and put on there. We done this ourselves, so it won't look like this from Woodmizer. I'm sure theirs will have more of a end plate that comes all the way to there. This was a quick fix, but what happens is this whole thing will break off and kind of outspin and bust out the bottom. Can't really see for the hydraulic hoses, but if you're going to buy one of these and you've never bought one before, you don't know much about them, you're really going to want to know that that's been fixed. That's a huge problem that could cause you some issues. Another thing is, in these sides right here, along this, on both sides, that will crack just because there's so much. You get bigger logs on here. We saw massive logs. We saw pretty rapid, and we really put these mills through their paces. You might not be as abusive on mills as we are. Not really that we're trying to, it's just that we push them to the max almost daily. But along here, you'll have stuff that'll crack if you don't watch. So make sure you've got at least 4 welds, and you've got that on both sides. Ours did not come like that. Ours didn't come with the plates over there. You can see that from over here. We've put those on there. That's the same thing I just showed you. Put them on both sides and the bottom. Another thing, this has all been changed out from when we got it. These sprockets and stuff that are in here, in 2015 to 16, they had totally different sprocket setup, and the piston that goes through there snaps. I mean, they don't last but a month or two if you're actually working the machine, because these are so much faster backwards and forwards compared to like a regular 70 or a 50 or just about any mill on the market. They are extremely fast backwards and forwards. It's something that you really want to have done. You can do it yourself. It's not that big a process. You just undo the chain and you remove this sprocket. There's a little Carter pin and stuff that holds it on, and then you take this motor off, put the shaft and stuff in there. We've changed out I'd say between me and my dad, when we first started, we changed out about 50 of them. But they finally figured that out, and I think they've got that fixed also. This is another major issue that you'll want to pay attention to. This was a homemade bracket. They've got one now that comes on the new ones. What happens is this frame tubing is too thin from the factory, and these mills, like I said, they're extremely fast backwards and forwards. So what happens is this cracks down through here. Sorry, I didn't have it on it, but this cracks down through here. And then this bearing under here pops out a little bit. And then this one will crack on the backside, and the whole head will basically fall over on this tubing here. Woodmizer has now put this on all of their new ones. I'm almost 100% sure. And what else they've done it to mine the last time I had it up there, is if you look in here, there's another bracket inside there in the corner. You can see it's welded on and been put in there. Let me get over here and get a little better insight. But see it in there? It's basically a fatter sleeve on all your corners. But if you're buying one of these mills and it's used, you want to have this done before you start running it, because it just causes so much more damage when it actually breaks and you don't have that fixed. Oh, got a lot of buildup in here. But the same thing happens back here on this. In here there's another bearing, and it will push out. You just want to make sure on all your corners in there, over on that side, on this side. This is the motor right here, so you're looking down. Here's the shaft that comes down through here. All your housing rolls up and down with bearings on this to actually make the head go up and down, and it's on a cylinder, which is right here. That would lead me to the next thing. When we got this, these were grade 5 bolts, and we put grade 8 in them because they kept snapping right here, and then the whole head would just suddenly fall. We fixed that and put those in there. Like I said, everything has been a trial and error, and when we got these were some of the first in the country, if not the first two that were actually let out, because I know my dad, he had already used one that was a gas model, and we fell in love with them because they're just so much faster than a regular one compared to the LT70s we had originally, and it's just really, really quick. Another thing, if you're cutting bigger logs, you're going to want to put a leg like this on your mill. You can see where I had this welded on and put on there. It basically keeps that whole support side right there from letting it swag over. And what happens over time is all this will fold, and so I actually put this to suck it together around this tubing, this frame right here, and that along with this leg fixed that problem. I went through 2 of these tables before I figured out that that's what was going to have to be done. Now, I don't know if they've done any of that at Woodmizer. Like I said, we've been talking back and forth with quite a few of the guys up there and the engineers, and they have taken notes, and we've sent them a lot of pictures, and so I'm not for sure when they're going to implement all the things that need to be fixed. But another thing, and I think they fixed this also, this framing through here, this tubing, is too thin, and so what happens over time when you roll big logs on is it divots this. It's hard to tell in here, but see how it's beveled down in there around that framing where this rides, which when you cut wide boards, this leans over and it doesn't support it all the way across like you would want. Both front and back were like that. The new style arm that's been put on right here has a roller on it, and I absolutely love that. That is a nice upgrade, really a good deal. Another thing that I know they've fixed now, but you'll really want this, I've yet to put it on mine, but inside here where your hold on a minute. So inside where your blade housing is, behind this, where your blade and your wheels set, there's a cover that they've come out with, and it goes all the way around this and bolts up to that top bracket. And what that does is when you run a blade and then you have it sharpened and then you run it again, if it decides to let go and bust, it can't come back and cut your drive belt completely in half. And that's a huge issue a lot of times. One of the things that I done is I cut out a couple of the teeth in here. You can see them here, but I cut out a couple of the teeth, which 90% of the time now the blade will just shoot down that, and then I just cut it with a saw and pull it out, and that saved my belt a lot of times. I've yet to put that facing cover in there. Let's see, what else is there? I'm trying to think of the other things that we fixed or changed on these that made them a big difference. These right here are on the new ones. They're, instead of the style where you have the just this locks it in place, so once you get your meal stabilized, it'll just stay at that point. The other ones didn't have these collars, you can see, and they vibrate around, and then the bottom of the leg will get loose, and then your meal is unstable and you'll see it rock a little bit, and then you got to come and fix all that, re-level it, and just isn't ideal. But they've put on the new ones, I think in 2020 they started putting these on all of them, or this style where it has the keeper, it just slides down on there and holds it in place. And they completely jack up to where you want them at. What I done, instead of buying a log deck, is I've got this, log deck that was just made out of tubing, and then I took these arms and welded flats across arms. It's still the original arms. You can see that's what comes with them to pick them up off the ground. And you just put flat sheet on the side across through there, and then the log rolls to here. Just someone rolls it up there, and when they do that, these arms pick it up and throw it right on the mill, and it's actually really quick. And this was a lot cheaper to build than a log deck, and simpler. Trying to think, there's some other things that need to be addressed, but for some reason I'm drawing a blank. But that will give you some good insight and knowledge when you go to buy one of these, what to look for and to pay attention for, because if those things aren't done, you need to have them done, and as soon as possible. Operating it without all that done just leads to severe damage and stuff that happens. Believe me, I've had it done, and it's hard to fix, especially when that cracked and the top cracked and the whole head just laid over on that tubing. You have to get this level and completely suspended, get your bearings and stuff back in there, weld it all back on the frame, this housing, and then put these on, do the top one, which is up there in the corner, and then over here. But other than that, I can tell you, if you buy one of these and you work with Woodmizer, you will be extremely happy. The speed and everything that you get from one of these compared to a regular meal. Just having the ability to put the controls in here. I mean, we built this whole thing. It's air conditioned, heated, all that. The controls that run this whole machine just sit right there. And you can have, the nice thing about the Super 70s is you can have that on either end. You see the little plug right there. I can bring the controls out here and plug them in there, or back there on the back side, which is where they're plugged into now. See the cable right here runs into there, and it just is a different machine. Most of the other companies that I see, all the controls are stuck on the machine, and just Woodmizer is so far out there with their technology that nobody else is really competing in that vicinity. And you can take one of these and have a phenomenal setup. I'll show you how this one is. So all our three-phase stuff are in here too. But I mean, all this is here, and you literally just have your controls right here. And now here you've got the meal, and you sit in here and run the whole thing from here. Load the logs, all that. I mean, it's nice. I've set up the, as you've seen in other videos, I've got this on a plug. I did have a little motor running it, a little gas engine. I moved everything over to three-phase, and so that just comes on, off with a button. As the sawdust goes in there, I just shoot it out the end, and it just goes back here. We take the lift. They're on them now.